It'll be 1 to go this time by. Coming to the green, buddy. Coming to the green. Let's go get him. Go, go, go. Dig, dig, dig. Go, 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 go.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Is there the possibility of going in on a Thursday or Friday? Rick Hendrick had talked about using data acquisition. Is that a possibility? And also, I know you guys have RFID chips in the Goodyear tires. Is that going to be one way to monitor or police it as well? Because obviously they'll know where those tires are at all times.
Let me back up or answer your questions backwards. The chips that are in the tires are used currently to help us police the events and testing. So that's something that's out there already, and we've got experience with that. What might happen at the events, I think, is still on the table. I think that's part of the list of things that we owe answers to, that we would get to pretty quickly, I hope. I think we should in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But I would not encourage anybody that there are things out there that they would like to see that might happen, because I think what's important is that for the potential of this decision having the impact that makes it worth it, it's going to be important for NASCAR to keep all of those elements captured. And if we start breaking out those elements, then I think we give the ability for this effort to not be worth what is all the sacrifices and the elements that have to be made to make it work. So whether it's doing something different at the events by adding days or adding data acquisition elements at the event, whether it's coming up with opportunities for less experienced drivers, rookies, to have time in the seat behind the wheel. Those elements are all on the table right now, but I don't want to encourage anyone that they have any leg room right now, because I'm afraid that, and I think as we talk through those issues, if we give up on any of those components that are captured by saying no testing, and no meaning no, that we start allowing that to break out. And this is I'll remind everybody that that testing is something that we look at every year. It's a fluid movement, and our history tells you that NASCAR changes testing routinely, and we do that to stay current. And this decision is a big decision, and it's a big decision because of the current set of circumstances we've got. And the spirit of this decision that we all share a responsibility in is to be good for the sport. So if we make a big decision like this and then start piecing out little pieces of it to accommodate a specific area, then I don't think we do the decision justice. But I will tell you that there are decisions that are still on the table that have to be firmed up, that include the conversation about telemetry at the racetrack.
Monty,
currently involved in the sport because it's their sport today. So you talk to the sponsors, the racetracks, the car owners, the drivers, the crew members that are currently involved in the sport, because that's the group that your decisions affect. And so there's several people in this sport that have a lot of experience that we can go attach ourselves to, but there's stakeholders in this sport that whose livelihood, their involvement in the sport are impacted by the decision we make. So we spend a lot of time with the current stakeholders in making these decisions.
Mike, Tom Jensen, SpeedTV.com, back here. When Brian was on the teleconference and at Phoenix last week, and he said over and over again, cost is going to be the number one priority, co-number one priority, along with safety. What other areas, in addition to limiting testing, will you guys be looking at? You know, are you considering shortening the race weekends or capping team sizes? Or is there any other areas that you can get into?
Not today. I would, except for to tell you that starting next week, we NASCAR also have the opportunity to sit down and catch up on topics that will be timely for '09. And in reviewing all of that, we will have things over the off season and maybe into January where we can come back and say these are things that we're doing in different series or all the series, and hopefully there are other things that we can accomplish and can put forward to address issues and the future of the sport. In the meantime, there's a lot of good things in this sport. There's a lot of good things going on. I think today's announcement and today's decision is symbolic of NASCAR working with the industry, particularly the team owners and the crew members, in coming up with a procedure or a policy that allows the teams and crews and the stakeholders in the sport to make decisions for themselves as to how to go forward. But in the meantime, protect the quality of what goes on the racetrack, because at the end of the day, you don't want to cut into the muscle. You've got to, whatever your decision is, whether it's your own media outlet or your own household or whatever business you might be in or whatever stake you've got to watch after, it's important to make forward-thinking and good decisions. But it's also important to not lose sight of the fact that things are different. And I think this is one of those steps that we hope gives car owners the ability to reinvest resources, save the resources, and hopefully it's a temporary situation.
We're going to go.
There may be, you may lift the testing ban in place, you know, to let teams test at Indianapolis a little bit more next year. And also, as you move forward on this ban, what will be the things that you'll look at or listen for to consider lifting it at some point in the future?
In regards to Goodyear tire testing, that will be a continuing program. Goodyear will continue to test tires. Might require additional testing that to be sure that, or to be as sure as you can be, to be sure we got the right tires at race time. Certainly there could be a special test if NASCAR felt like it was necessary because of some unknown today that could crop up along the season that would require the further development of a tire or a new situation at a racetrack. That's something that could pop up. We don't see that right now, but certainly we're not closing out the completeness of being able to react to something that's thrown our way as we typically do. And I think your last question was what circumstances might cause us to relook at this. Typically, we like to put out a program, particularly at testing, since that's the topic of the day, that team owners and the teams can plan on for the full season, and only make exception to that if the exception is extraordinary. So the thinking would be that this is a plan for the entire '09 season, because I think it's important for teams to be able to bank on planning out and their plans be the correct ones. And what keeps them correct is us not changing things. And we've been sensitive to that in a few years, so for the last several years. So this is one of those decisions I think that's going to be important to lay it out and say, here it is, and the teams can bank on it being the plan for the full season, with the exception of something extraordinary coming our way that we didn't anticipate.